Where do the pimps, where do the villains and the criminals in the underground sex trade, including sex slavery, where do they go when they need some type of medical attention? We're going to talk about it on today's program. This is the voice of resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
We're here in Memphis, Tennessee, because one of our sons has cancer, and I ask you to continue to pray for him. His name is Michael. He's being treated at St. Jude Children's Hospital. Because of that, we're having to restructure our lives and our ministry, and we're using some of the research that we've done in times past to bring to you what are timely and critical episodes, such as this series on Planned Parenthood. There has been a horrific increase in criminal, underground, sex slave trade. There's no other way to put it. And at the vanguard of protecting those in this horrific, hell-bent criminal activity, the vanguard of protecting them is Planned Parenthood, and therefore President Obama. In today's episode, we're going to utilize some of the footage taken by tremendous pro-life activists such as Lila Rose and her teammates who go in undercover to Planned Parenthood posing to be involved in these criminal activities. And you're going to see and hear with your own eyes and ears what Planned Parenthood offers these people so that they can continue in their deviant criminal behavior, including statutory rape. Okay? And what does President Obama do? He wants to keep funding them. This is one of the most despicable activities going on in the United States of America. And our president supports it, and tragically, you and I, with our tax dollars, are helping to fund it. Meet Planned Parenthood. Some of them fled here, coming illegally into the country in hopes of finding a better life. Others were kidnapped and brought here against their will. Some of them, they're literally the girl next door. What they share is that they are either in the criminal sex syndicate, they're sex slaves, or they are the victims of some adult male who is violating them on an ongoing basis. And they go to Planned Parenthood. And Planned Parenthood, rather than telling the authorities what's going on, covers up the crimes and keeps them locked in this hell. We're going to expose Planned Parenthood today. Welcome to today's program, friend. We are in the middle of a series on Planned Parenthood, and we're doing that because recently President Obama became the first sitting president to speak at a Planned Parenthood conference, praising their work, their service for young women for nearly 100 years. We are going just a little bit deeper into the news to show you who Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was, what the organization really stands for, what they are doing to young people, coast to coast. So If you missed any of those shows, and if you want to see the upcoming ones, you can find them all in the archives in a special section about Planned Parenthood. Go to voiceofresistance.com. Now, I read to you yesterday from my book, Accessory to Murder. By the way, if you want to get this, we'll send it to you for a gift of any size. Just pay the shipping and handling. I'll even autograph it for you, okay? You'll learn more in this book than you're hearing on any of the news outlets about Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. Lane, do me a favor. Play the two quotes about, actually play the one for Obama saying, "I've got your back." All right, just so you see.
As long as we've got to fight to make sure women have access to quality, affordable health care, and as long as we've got to fight to protect a woman's right to make her own choices about her own health, I want you to know that you've also got a president who's going to be right there with you, fighting every step of the way.
There it is, folks. Obama, as long as he's president, he's going to protect Planned Parenthood. He's the big tough guy, and he's going to fight against people like me and you who want to defund them and see their organization driven back to hell where it came from. Well, let's talk a little bit about their vision and their agenda. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was by every definition a harlot. She was rubbing shoulders constantly with Malthusians and socialists. And Malthusians are people who think there's not enough food in the world to go around, so we should abort people or we should sterilize people forcefully. She was involved with unthinkable sexual perversion. She was very close to the eugenics movement associated with Germany, okay, with the Nazis, who wanted genetic cleansing. One of her board members was Dr. Lothrop Stoddard, who wrote the book, The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy. Dr. Stoddard traveled to Germany and met personally with Adolf Hitler. Another fine specimen of evil, Dr. Ernst Rudin. He was the director of Nazi medical experimentation. He was a German. She solicited him, and he accepted, to write for her birth control review. Okay? Even after the Nazis had invaded Poland, she was still giving the Nazi eugenics movement positive press here in America until it became politically untenable to do so. Now, she also spoke in her book, The Pivot of Civilization, about eliminating human weeds. All right? The human weeds were African Americans, Slavs, Poles, Jews, poor people. This is who she went after. In fact, let me show you how she lumps a whole bunch of good people together. Listen. In The Pivot of Civilization, she lumps together in one sentence the insane, criminals, the mentally defective, and the poor. She calls them paupers, and then calls them all feeble-minded. So what's her solution? She states, we now have commissions for controlling the gypsy moth and the boll weevil, the foot and mouth disease, and for protecting the shellfish and wild game, but we have no commission which even attempts to modify or to control the vast moral and economic forces represented by the feeble-minded persons at large in the community. In other words, if you're poor or if you're feeble-minded, well, you might have that animal attraction that she spoke about yesterday, but you should not be able to mate and reproduce. She wanted the forceful sterilization of people that she deemed less fit to consume the items of this world than she and her friends. This is what the founder of Planned Parenthood was all about. Fast forward to today. Where are most Planned Parenthood clinics? Yeah, they're in poor African American neighborhoods, Hispanic neighborhoods, in African American schools. Planned Parenthood is still pursuing her dream. Why do you think that African Americans are about 12% of the population, but they comprise about a third of all the dead babies by abortion? Because Planned Parenthood and their ideological cohorts are relentlessly pursuing the death and the sterilization of the African American community. When we come back from this break, I'll talk to you about the Negro Project and what Margaret Sanger set out to do and accomplished, I might add. Don't go away.
Hey, everyone's been asking me, when's Unstoppable coming out on DVD? Well, it's here. And I have created my own deluxe signature version of Unstoppable that contains not only the movie, but over 5 hours of additional curriculum and study guides for your family. It's perfect for your homeschool, educational facility, small group Bible study, and family devotions. And I'm going to share with you some of the spiritual warfare that surrounded the release of this film. This box set also includes extended scenes, new music videos, the inside scoop on the whole Facebook controversy. So what are you waiting for? I made this special version with my family in mind, and I know your family will be blessed by it too. Unstoppable 2.0 Deluxe Signature Version, available only here at KurtCameron.com. I can't wait for you to experience what's inside.
Welcome back to the program, friend. Margaret Sanger was a racist. She really despised black people, but she was smart enough to try and win them over to the cause of their own demise. It was actually called the Negro Project. And I'm going to read to you actually one of her sayings or quotes. She said that she wanted to stop the black community from, quote, their reckless and irresponsible swarming and spawning. So her agenda was this: hire 3 or 4 colored ministers, preferably with social service background, and with engaging personalities. She wanted them to travel throughout the South with their propaganda message. And the most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. We do not want word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members. Remember, this is not the Ku Klux Klan, okay? Although I imagine that the Ku Klux Klan really loved her. This is an American pioneer. Somebody that President Obama says, I've got your back. The unthinkable shame and disgust of that is almost beyond comprehension. Anyway, I'm going to say some things right now and in the next couple of segments and into the next show that some of you will think is over the top. Planned Parenthood is a criminal syndicate. And when I say that, I'm not speaking rhetorically, I'm speaking as a matter of law. I hereby accuse them of being a criminal syndicate. And I believe that the facts bear it out. There are several groups out there who have been catching Planned Parenthood employees on camera, explaining to people posing as pimps and prostitutes how they can avoid the law and hide the fact that they have 14 and 15-year-old prostitutes, literally young women involved in what some people refer to as the sex slave trade. We're going to talk about that. We're going to show the footage. And then you be the judge. And then we're going to have to ask ourselves, why is Planned Parenthood getting away with this? Why aren't they being prosecuted? I'll be right back. One of the greatest joys and passions that I have had for almost my entire life is music. And one of the best times that I had was putting together some albums in Nashville of songs that I wrote. One of the albums is called Dark Sunglasses Day. This is a country album, a lot of love songs, some patriotic music. We've made it available to you online, and I hope that you'll go take a listen. You might be pleasantly surprised. You might even find yourself singing along. Welcome back to the program, friend. President Obama, praising Planned Parenthood, had this to say.
I want to thank all of you for the remarkable work that you're doing day in, day out in providing quality health care to women all across America. You are somebody that women young women, old women, women in between, count on for so many important services.
Well, what exactly are those services? Lila Rose and her team at Live Action, and I encourage you to go to their website, have done some incredible, groundbreaking undercover work showing the counseling that comes from Planned Parenthood. And as I stated, they are a criminal syndicate. Listen as this man posing to be a pimp discusses with a Planned Parenthood employee, a manager, how to break the law and keep it a secret that he has foreign sex slaves that are 14 and 15 years old. It's hard to hear. You've got to listen and read the transcript as it goes. Lane?
Now the thing is, okay, so some of them are like, some of them are young. They're kind of like, some are like 15, 14, and some of them don't speak any English, you know, because they're not even from here. So it's like, how can they come in here? Because they don't always feel comfortable coming into facilities.
One, minors are always accepted without parental consent.
Okay.
The only thing that you do have to be careful is, if they are a minor, we are obligated, if we hear any certain information, to kind of report. So the first thing with that is, what if they do speak English or even Spanish? It doesn't matter what they speak. It doesn't matter what they speak. If we're going to have it translated, they just have to be aware that they have to be careful with what, you know, I'm not kind of like leading in. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
I know, it's fine. How would you recommend, like, because you want them to get the help, so
exactly.
what would you recommend?
Exactly. But so mainly, like on the paperwork, there's going to be a point that asks, you know, like are you sexually active, stuff like that. If they're under a certain age, we're kind of, you know, me and my other counselor, like for the most part, we want as little information as possible. We want as little information as possible because we're not going to get involved in this shit. You know, excuse my word.
No, that's
Once we get to the nurse practitioner, she's a little bit more anal, so she likes to kind of dig a little bit more.
There it is. And again, this is not odd. Film like this has been captured all over the country, on the phone and in person. This is what President Obama had to say, again, in praise of Planned Parenthood.
Somewhere there's a woman who's breathing easier today because of the support and counseling she got at her local Planned Parenthood health clinic.
Well, the truth is, there are pimps, there are pedophiles breathing easier. Not the girls that are their captives, not the girls that are being sexually exploited. They're not breathing easier, Mr. Obama. It's the pimps, the pedophiles, the criminals who are breathing easier. Listen to this or watch this footage where the Planned Parenthood employee specifically tells the pimp and the hooker that is there with him to lie.
How old is your partner? You know, that kind of stuff. So that's where, you know, so even if they lie and just say, oh, he's the same age as me, 15, you know, so like if they're 15, it's just like mainly 14 and under, we have to. Doesn't matter if their partner's the same age, younger, whatever. 14 and under, we have to report.
14 under. That includes being 14. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
14, you know, once they get to 15, then there's a little bit more playroom. So as long as they just lie and say, oh, he's 15, 16, you know, as long as they don't say 14, and as long as it's not too much of an age gap, then we just kind of like, then we just kind of play.
What if they do say they're 14? Can
Well, you know, then from there, it's just really watching what they say.
Could it be any clearer? They are instructing somebody who has 14 and 15-year-old girls as sex workers, foreigners. God only knows if they were kidnapped and brought here, or if they were tricked into coming here, promised one thing, you know, a job in a factory, and now they have a job as a prostitute. This is what's going on, friends. This is what Planned Parenthood is involved in. Play that clip, Lane, where Obama is praising them.
Because the women you serve know you and they trust you. And the reason for that is that you haven't let them down before.
President Obama, are you kidding? Haven't let them down? How many tens of thousands of young girls, 13, 14, 15 years old. Tens of thousands who are the victim of statutory rape, of a man bringing them in, pretending to be the father when he's in fact the abuser. How many pimps and sex workers have come in, and the sex worker is a 14-year-old girl, maybe from another country, maybe from America? Planned Parenthood is letting women down every day. They are a criminal syndicate involved in covering up and facilitating the criminal acts against minors. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, more of the ludicrous from President Obama and what you and I must do. It took me 14 years to write it. 4 rewrites, countless edits. I poured my heart and soul into Dragon Slayers. At points a very inspiring and painful book to write. I encourage you to go to our website and look at the reviews that we have gotten from readers of this book, and then avail yourself. It's an allegory, and I promise you, you'll be inspired. Welcome back to the program. Again, if you join me late, go to voiceofresistance.com to see this entire series on Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, and Obama being their lackey. All right, listen to these words from President Obama, again, praising Planned Parenthood.
Make sure that they know that there are plans out there right now that cover the cost of contraception and preventive care free of charge.
Well, it could be that the free birth control actually helps not just the sex slaves and the sex workers, but it helps the profit margins of the pimps. You mean to tell me I can get free birth control for my prostitutes? Sign me up. He goes on to say,
we've got to spread the word, particularly among women, particularly among young women, who are the ones who are most likely to benefit from these laws.
Well, it's not just young women who are going to benefit, it's the pedophile. It's the criminal who is using and abusing these young women. Planned Parenthood last year, 2012, killed over 330,000 babies. Cold-blooded murder, okay? That's over 25% of all murdered babies in the United States. The largest single child killer in the Western Hemisphere is Planned Parenthood. And true to their perverse sexual agenda, they are also involved in the crimes of covering up sexual assaults on minors. Remember this, friend. A girl who's 14 or 15 years old having sex, she's got an STD, she's getting contraception, she's getting her baby killed through abortion. She is a walking crime scene. A crime has been committed by definition. And Obama is covering up and covering for this godless organization. I urge you, call the number you see on your screen and demand of your U.S. House member that the next time there is a vote on the budget that carries one dime of federal money, our money, for Planned Parenthood, threaten their job. Tell them you will never vote for them again if they vote to give your money to this criminal syndicate. In tomorrow's program, we're going to see how they impact parents of little 14 and 15-year-old girls who are sneaking off to Planned Parenthood without mom knowing about it. God save us. Friend, I encourage you to go to our website and learn how you can be an activist that brings this criminal syndicate to justice, or at least how we can get them defunded. This is an offense to God and man, and it is our duty to fight them and to prevail. Please, Lord, raise up a new generation of righteous activists.